Regis. Just a small matter of a heavyweight clash on this past weekend. Wilder Fury 2.
That was an ass whooping, huh? I mean, that was just a brilliant performance by Fury. I didn't think Deontay looked himself from the first bell, but certainly the fight in my mind ended with the big punch and the
Seventh.
No. When was the third round? That the punch in the third round was the decisive. It wasn't the last round. It was the punch in the third round was the decisive punch, and I don't think Deontay ever really recovered from it. And I personally thought the stoppage was perfect and it could have been earlier.
Obviously, was you surprised at all by Tyson's tactics of sort of going there, rush Wilder and throwing as much?
I was surprised. The only reason I was surprised but he said he was going to do it. I mean, the funny part was he told everyone what he was going to do. Just no one thought he was really going to do it, and I'm one of the people that didn't think he was going to do it. I thought it was smoke and mirrors, and that he was just looking to get into, Wilder's head, and he was going to go out there and box him and try to make it a boxing match. He made it a fight, and he was the superior boxer, but he was also the stronger man. He was the guy pushing back his opponent, and he was the dangerous guy in the ring that night. I think Deontay Wilder's better than that, actually. Like, it bums me out that it bothers me when two really good fighters fight and then someone's thrown into a garbage can because he doesn't have his night and he's a bad night, and then people are trying to denigrate his whole career. He's still one of the hardest punchers in boxing. And
those are the words of Lou Dibella. And of course, Lou Dibella was on Team Wilder up until some unfortunate incidents, or some fortunate incidents, depends on how you look at it, when he attempted to get Deontay Wilder the $120 million DAZN deal with Anthony Joshua. Of course, he left after those negotiations failed, and they asked him his take on it. And he was just like, it was an ass whooping, He said the big punch happened. He never recovered from it, and he thinks that Wilder didn't look right from the beginning parts. And one thing Lou Dibella also said that he could have an off night. So he says he's better than that, and it bums me out how people throw people under the bus when they feel that they have an off night. Now, I have to agree with Lou Dibella, and let's just throw all the excuses out. We'll get to that later because he brings up he addresses those excuses. But if we get down to what really happened, Tyson Fury was better prepared. Tyson Fury had a game plan, or a better game plan. He was able to implement his game plan, and he was able to do something that no one that probably could do that or had the capability of doing that didn't do, or didn't have the chance to. Tyson Fury took it to Wilder, overpowered Wilder, backed up Wilder, hurt Wilder, and convinced his corner to stop the fight. Now, I agree with Lou Dibella because anybody can have an off night. It's not like you come in 100% all the time, or should I say, you're not always on your A game. You can have an off night. It happens. You've seen it with the best of them. However, I don't think, as of right now, I don't think that Deontay Wilder had an off night. I think someone did something that he couldn't handle, and he's never saw that before, and he didn't know how to deal with it. That's what I honestly think. Now, one thing I want to add, people throwing Deontay Wilder under the bus, I want to address this also. Like, if you are a Wilder fan, don't look for excuses. Because that makes your fighter, it takes away the accountability for that fighter. It takes the accountability away from that fighter, that fighter couldn't fight his own battles. That's what he does. That's why you're supposed to be fans of this guy, Deontay Wilder, because he's a warrior, he's a king, he's everything that you thought he was. He's that black representation of that person that you want him to be. He's that ambassador of that black champ that you want. Because a lot of people think that way. But you're making all this other stuff up. It's not right. And anybody could have an off night, even Deontay Wilder. So and here's the thing. When people realize that Deontay Wilder's not bulletproof, when they figure out that he can be hurt, that he is human, don't throw him under the bus if your lies or your stories or your delusional excuses fall through. Don't give up on your fighter. But you have to first admit that your fighter got beat. So their fans have to get away from the delusion first, come down to reality, click your shoes and come back home, right? And admit that he lost. And if he did lose, if he loses again, don't throw Deontay Wilder under the bus, if you know what I mean, because you guys were riding with Wilder. Don't throw him under the bus now. If you're a fan of him, you should stay a fan of him. That's period. That's real talk, because you don't talk about the man and diss the man because he got beat. He just got beat by a better guy. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys listen to the rest of Lou Dibella regarding the costume excuse.
He's better than he showed, I think, in that fight. But that takes nothing away from Fury, who, Fury got everything right. He said how he was going to do it. And then he came in the ring as the king. But he left the ring as the king. So all power to Tyson Fury. I mean, cheers. I like Tyson. He's a good guy. But, how could you have anything but respect for him right now? He's the king of the heavyweights at the moment.
What did you make of Deontay's talk after the fight about his costume weighing down on him on his ring walk?
I'm not going to get into that in specificity. I'll say this, though. I've been in this business for 30 years. Fighters like to try to figure out why they lost. I think his legs weren't there. I'll say this: I didn't think his legs looked normal from the beginning of the fight, but I'm not sitting here necessarily saying it had something to do with an outfit. Do you know what I mean? I think he would have been better off, maybe even if he believed that, keeping that to himself would have probably been good advice from his team. But you know what? In general, particularly great fighters or fighters that have had a lot of success. I mean, this guy was undefeated before this loss. Fighters tend to like to try to reach for reasons or find some reason beyond I just wasn't good enough as to why they didn't win it on a particular night.
So, I think out of respect, he didn't blast Wilder for the excuse. But, again, he's absolutely right. He should have checked with his team before making that type of statement. And like Lou Dibella said, as crazy as it might seem, if that was really the reason that, hey, my legs were gone, man, because I had to wear this heavy shit, and I didn't think it was this heavy, but the shit was heavy as hell. I had to walk along the long ways, then come up a flight of stairs. I probably didn't eat shit that day, so I'm kind of weak, so my legs weren't there. Even if that was the real legitimate case, okay, that's something that you should have got with Shelly Finkel or your team before releasing that information, because it makes it, to anyone that hears it, anyone that hears that, it makes it sound like some bullshit, honestly. You know what I mean? Because people hear, man, what costume? You mean that you were shaking around the ring? These punches had nothing to do with you falling down, stumbling over, grabbing the ropes, bleeding out the head. All that had to do with your costume. Your costume cut you in the ear, therefore it was already bleeding, and then Tyson kind of hit it and it came out. Because, come on, man. And I will say this to end this video. Lou Dibella's right, because he knows the protocol of the corner. He was a part of the team of Deontay Wilder, and he knows Shelly Finkel. And Shelly Finkel will tell you himself that certain things that Anthony Joshua said. Remember when Joshua said that sometimes I felt I wasn't good enough? Do you guys remember that? When he said I wasn't good enough, sometimes I questioned how good I really am after the defeat to Andy Ruiz, right? And what did Shelly Finkel say? I would not personally allow him to do that. I wouldn't allow Anthony Joshua to say something like that, I would have checked first. Well, guess what, Shelly Finkel? You should have checked with your damn fighter before he made such an idiotic excuse. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Lou Dibella speaking his thoughts on the fight. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.